So I decided to do my project on energy, and I was interested in this after I read the fact that our energy consumption is supposed to double by 2050. So currently, our energy supply is predominantly used by fossil fuels. The main three are petroleum, which is gas, coal, which is we have a large supply here in the United States. It's primarily used for electricity generation, and then natural gas. There's currently a natural gas boom in the United States after all these shale rocks and have been discovered, and we've been exploiting them pretty heavily. Petroleum is obviously out of our reach these days. Our biggest supplier is Canada, but I mean, we're in a war right now over, partly because of the Middle Eastern control over the oil industry. One thing about fossil fuels is that there's a finite supply, which means there's a limited supply. We're going to run out eventually. There's estimates for each one. Seems like natural gas, at least because of our newest boom, there's going to be a good amount to hold us for at least 100 years or so. But all these share a common characteristic, and they're called fossil fuels because they release emissions, predominantly CO2, and then some of them also release methane. There's been some problem with fossil fuels is that there's been warfare associated with it, and prices, at least for petroleum, has risen quite substantially. And when oil prices rise, it can really affect the economy, and it's generally not good. So renewable energy is going to be the key to the future. Now, the main sources to renewable energy include wind power, solar power, biomass, geothermal energy, and hydroelectric energy. So wind is basically taking in the power that the wind supplies. It spins the turbines and produces electricity. Solar just takes the energy from the sun. Biomass is taking energy from organic waste mostly and converting that into energy. Geothermal is taking advantage of the heat difference between the core of the Earth and the atmosphere. So on a nice summer day, under the surface of the Earth, it would be a little bit cooler, and that energy can be transported to homes to help with air conditioning. And then very opposite, winter days, the core of the Earth is going to be a little bit warmer, so pipelines can trap that heat, and then transfer that up to homes, and they'll help you. And then hydroelectric is just taking the power of waves and tides and transferring that into electricity. So renewable energies, they all emit zero carbon dioxide or methane or any kind of greenhouse gas. And the one problem with renewable energy in general is that it's relatively expensive. Solar is getting relatively cheaper, but wind turbines, just they're so massive, and the amount of labor it takes just to install one is pretty vast. However, the return on investment, if you look at it in a futuristic kind of perspective, you're going to earn your money back, and it's going to pay off dearly. So yeah, renewable energies are the key to the future, They can help preserve this earth. Again, they don't have any emissions, which is wonderful. Fossil fuels are going to eventually destroy the earth, to be blunt. So yeah, we need to invest in renewables. Now, it may sound like I'm oversimplifying this whole fossil fuel and renewable energy kind of course of action. Obviously, we want to invest in renewables, but right now we have so much energy demand that fossil fuels are the quick and easy answer. So in my next part of this video, I'm going to explain what I think we should do to become a sustainable Earth.
So we have this thing called energy that everyone is trying to get their hands on. The big question is, how do we solve our energy demand while still preserving our Earth? Well, in order to preserve the Earth, we must be looking through a lens that focuses on the long term rather than the short term. Speaking of the short term, natural gas seems like a viable option for, let's say, 10 years. It has less carbon emissions than most fossil fuels, but that's the problem. It's a fossil fuel. Carbon dioxide and methane are both components of natural gas, and therefore natural gas can only be used temporarily. Not to mention the danger to water resources it presents through its extraction process, otherwise known as hydraulic fracturing. Natural gas must be short-lived. After this 10-year time period, we must turn towards alternative energy. In my eyes, nuclear, hydro, wind, and solar show the greatest potential. There's a common thread among these four energy sources: zero carbon dioxide emissions. This is the future. Nuclear energy in particular might be the key. There's two main reasons I like the nuke. For one, the production of nuclear energy is consistent and does not depend on the weather. Number two, although it is not considered renewable, the energy source produces zero carbon emissions. As it commonly gets criticized for having an abundant amount of waste, new technologies are spurring up that virtually recycle all of its waste into additional energy. WAMSR is one of these, and is a new method of creating nuclear energy utilizing molten salt. WAMSR effectively recycles 98% of all the nuclear waste into viable energy. This is huge. With time, nuclear energy will only get cleaner and cleaner. However, it will require conscious effort by government and energy companies to accept the new technologies. Then come the renewable energy sources. In my opinion, hydro and wind show the most promise. However, we must deviate from placing these technologies on land and place them off the coast. Oceans are the answer. In the ocean, these technologies produce higher yields, are more reliable, and much safer for local communities and wildlife. Yes, these energy sources are very expensive, but the return on investment is tremendous. Just ask Europe. Last but not least is solar and geothermal energy. I find these two to be somewhat unrealistic to power society on a large scale, but their ability to power residentially is a great opportunity. Nowadays, solar panels are becoming cheaper every year. This opens the door to residential consumers. Installing solar panels on your house is now becoming a viable option. They can help power your home and cut your energy bill tremendously. And if the panels produce more energy than the home uses, the surplus can be sold back to the energy company to make a tidy profit. Panels could also be set up in abandoned deserts to produce higher yields without disturbing neighboring communities. Finally comes geothermal energy. This technology can be used to harness the heat difference between the atmosphere and the core of the Earth. This natural process can be used to heat and cool homes. All in all, I have hope for the future of energy in our world. Enough opportunities exist in order to sustainably fuel our needs. It will ultimately come down to the leading developed countries to take initiative and start looking at the solutions for energy in long-term perspectives rather than short-term. The United States is a natural-born leader. Countries look up to us. If we begin to invest in alternative energy, other countries will follow in our footsteps. We cannot do it alone, as it will take a collective effort. One of the greatest challenges of mankind is looking us straight in the face, and we must respond with full force in order to preserve Mother Nature and one another. We cannot rely on some external God to solve our issues. We must bond together, as the solution resides in the people. The solutions are known, and it's now time to act.